More watts does not mean better engraving. And that assumption is exactly what's costing small business owners real money on machines that underdeliver. A wrong laser engraver costs you capital, kills your production speed, and sits in a corner collecting dust. I tested 5 machines, judged on actual engraving accuracy, usable wattage output, software reliability, and cut throughput on real materials, not spec sheets. Out of dozens on Amazon, these 5 are worth your time. One of them surprised me, and it is not the one with the biggest number on the box. At $169.99, the Two Trees TTS55 Pro promises a 5,500 milliwatt laser, a 300 by 300 millimeter work area, and a 0.08 millimeter spot size. That is a real spec. On paper, it competes with machines that cost twice as much. The question is whether that promise holds up when you put actual material under it. For hobbyists doing occasional wood burns or simple acrylic cuts, the 300 by 300 work area is genuinely usable. But here is the problem. At this price point, you are right next to options with meaningfully better documented real-world accuracy. Owner feedback sits at 4.4 stars across 693 reviews, which is respectable, not dominant. For a small business owner who needs consistent, repeatable output day after day, respectable is not enough. Skip it if precision throughput is your core requirement. At $379.05, the Algo Lazier 10W is selling you a package, touchscreen interface, rotary roller included, Algo OS software, the works. That feature list looks premium on paper. Here's the problem. 34 reviews at 4.2 stars is a thin dataset. Not enough real-world volume to trust the reliability curve. The rotary roller is genuinely useful for cylindrical work like mugs and tumblers, but useful hardware bundled onto a machine with unproven throughput data is still a gamble. At this price, you are paying for the bundle, not proven core engraving performance. Skip it until the review count catches up. At $169.99, the Two Trees TTS55 Pro leads with 3 numbers: 5,500 milliwatts, 300 by 300 millimeters, 0.08 millimeters spot size. Good numbers, on paper anyway. The 300 by 300 work area is genuinely useful for small business work. Tumblers, cutting boards, tile sets, and 0.08 millimeters precision is tight enough to handle fine logo detail. With 693 reviews at 4.4 stars, there is real owner data behind it. But here is where the skeptic in me pumps the brakes. Without head-to-head throughput benchmarks, raw specs only tell you what it could do, not what it consistently does. If fine detail on wood or acrylic is your bread and butter, the spec sheet is encouraging. If you need proven production speed, the data gap is a real hesitation. At $143.99, the ACK-MRS 16,000 milliwatts is claiming a lot. More power than its 3,500 milliwatt sibling, same 0.04 millimeter spot precision, same 130 by 130 millimeters footprint. On paper, that sounds like an easy upgrade, but here is the honest question. Does doubling the wattage actually move the needle for a small business operator? Or are you paying a premium for headroom you will never use? The precision spec is real and competitive. A 0.04 millimeter laser spot is tight enough for fine text, detailed logos, and clean acrylic cuts. The 6,000 milliwatts output does give you more throughput on denser materials. Where it stalls is footprint. That 130 by 130 millimeters work area is a hard ceiling on batch size. If you are engraving small pendants or keychains one at a time, this works. If you are trying to run 10 coasters before a weekend market, you will feel the squeeze fast. Owner feedback sits at 4.1 out of 5 across 280 reviews, which is solid without being exceptional. For someone who needs more cutting muscle than the 3,500 milliwatt version, but works with small, precise items, this hits. But the next machine up changes the size equation entirely. Here's the one that actually surprised me. The 3,500 milliwatts ACK-MRS1 at $92.32. Lower wattage than everything else we've looked at. On paper, that sounds like a step down. It isn't. The 0.04 millimeter laser spot is the tightest in this entire lineup. That number matters more than raw power for most small business work. Logos, fine text, intricate patterns, that's where your revenue lives, and that's exactly where a fat beam loses you money. The 130 by 130 millimeters working area keeps it focused on precisely the jobs it was built for. Small format, high margin engraving. Think jewelry, custom keychains, nameplates. If you're cutting thick wood or acrylic in large sheets, skip it. The wattage ceiling is real. But if your business runs on detail work and repeatability, this is the one. Lower power forced, tighter engineering. And that trade-off lands squarely in your favor. At $92.32, it's our best overall pick. Best precision per dollar in the whole group. This is the machine you actually build a business on. So here's where everything lands. The ACK-MRS1 3500 milliwatts wins on price to performance. Full stop. The 6000 milliwatts version adds cutting power but costs more for gains most small businesses won't use daily. The Algo Laser 10W is the speed and depth pick for high-volume shops. Both Two Trees TTS 55 Pros sit mid-tier, solid but squeezed from both sides. More money than the S1, less capability than the Algo Laser. Know your volume before you spend up. Here is what the data actually says. The cheapest machine in this lineup is the best buy. The ACK-MRS1 3500 milliwatts delivers the accuracy small businesses need without the price premium you do not. More wattage costs more. It does not always mean more output. Links are below. Check current prices and choose with confidence. Links are in the description. Subscribe if you want more tests like this, and drop a comment. Which engraver are you going with?